Hello.
Thirmal, you're audible, Thirmal.
Yeah.
Thirmal sir, you have to unmute yourself, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Now you're audible, sir.
I'm very sorry for the inconvenience which has happened. There was sudden power cut, and there was some audio issue in my laptop as well. A very good afternoon, Principal Ashok sir, Niraymati ma'am, Vice Principal and President of IIC. Our guest speaker for today, Sarfraz Hassan sir. Welcome sir for this session. Sarfraz sir, if you remember, we both met at ISB 3 years ago.
Yes.
You hosted a international conference on smart cities,
Right.
entrepreneurship opportunities, if you remember.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I was the one who
absolutely.
spoke at the end. Yeah.
Okay.
So
yes, of course. Yeah.
nice meeting you
Remember now.
after a long time. But then when we thought of conducting a session on entrepreneurial opportunities, traits, and attributes, so definitely we had you only in your mind with your vast experience. You will create that interest among the students, because one of the biggest and significant characteristic of a entrepreneur is the passion which they should have. So if definitely governments, incubators, accelerators, and people like you with your vast experience are there to support the students. So it is from within themselves that it should come. So the right amount of passion should come from them. I always tell students, there is an entrepreneur in every individual. The only thing is you need to wake them up and give a right direction. So definitely, I wish that the session is going to be very fruitful for the students with a lot of inputs. So thank you for accepting our invitation, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Thirmal sir. Thank you so much. And yeah, I agree with everything that you said about Sarfraz sir. I would now like to give this time to our Vice Principal, President of IIC, Mrs. B. Niraymati ma'am, to address the participants. Ma'am.
Thank you, Annie. Respected Principal, Professor Y. Ashok, Mr. Hassan, the guest speaker for today's program, Mrs. Ashwini, Coordinator of IIC, Mr. Thirmal Rao, Coordinator for EDCell, all the faculty members of the IIC of Bhavans Vivekananda College, and dear participants. Very good afternoon to everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Hassan for accepting our invitation and being here to address our students. And I think not every entrepreneur can become successful. I think an entrepreneur requires to have the necessary skills, attitude, and behavior. I think that's what is today's topic is also about. And I appreciate the efforts by IIC, the faculty members of IIC, for initiating this program. And I congratulate all the students who are going to be budding entrepreneurs of future India. And I wish all of them all the very best. And I once again thank Mr. Hassan for being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Niraymati ma'am. Like you rightly said, yes, we need the right skills and the behavioral skills as well, and also the right attitude to become a successful entrepreneur, not just an entrepreneur, but also a successful entrepreneur. Thank you, ma'am. I would now like to give this time to our principal, Professor Y. Ashok, sir, to please address the gathering, all the participants, the speaker, and everybody here. Sir, if you could please.
Thank you, Annie Madam. I'll keep it very short because already I'm sure all the students are eager to listen to Sarfraza Sanji. So Mrs. Niremati, Vice Principal of the college and Chairperson of the Bhavan's Institution Innovation Council, and Mrs. V. Ashwini, Coordinator of the IAC, Mr. Thirumal Rao, ED Cell Coordinator, and Dr. Kavita, IPR Cell Coordinator, and all the faculty members and team of IAC, ED Cell and IPR. Yesterday only, Hassanji, we had a session with Ministry of Medium and Small Enterprises. So
Okay.
there they have given a lot of inputs, a day before yesterday, sorry, there they have given a lot of inputs to be an entrepreneur, identification of areas, and they were trying to show the roadmap of how to become an entrepreneur.
Right.
So in continuation of that, I am sure, first of all, let me appreciate the initiative of Mrs. Ashwini for bringing Hassanji into this platform. Because with wide experience of a $1 billion company and entrepreneur, and I am sure he is widely traveled and a lot of knowledge on business, corporate sector and entrepreneurship. I'm sure his inputs will be very, very valuable for somebody who want to become an entrepreneur. Becoming an entrepreneur is not an easy task. It's not like investing money and complete the business. You have to struggle. So it needs the right skill set. And especially while listening to people like Hassanji, their journey may definitely be a lesson for the people who want to become an entrepreneur. So Sarfraz Hassan sir, thank you once again for being with us. And I keenly look forward to listen to all of you, and students, please don't lose such opportunities where you get a chance to listen to such people, because their experience is your gain. They have withered all the difficulties and they have done a lot of work before they became successful. So their experience should definitely be a good input for all of you to become a successful entrepreneur. So all the best, Ashwini Madam, Thirumal and Kavita.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for the kind words, Professor Ashok. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Professor Ashok, sir, the principal. Sarfraz, sir, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but even before we start with you, I would just like to read out your illustrious profile to all our participants here, just very briefly, and then we would want to listen to you so that they know from whom they're listening to, so that we all are aware. Now, from the illustrious profile, from the huge profile, I would just keep it short. And if I have to say, Mr. Sarfraz Hassan, before the entrepreneurial bug bit him, Sarfraz, sir, was the head of treasury of a USD 6 billion petrochemical corporation, the largest such greenfield project in the world at that time. He led the department that handled financial transactions and investments worth USD 400 million on a monthly basis, and had won the Deal of the Year award for project financing deal of USD 3.5 billion. In the past, he has worked with global brands like GE Money and Standard Chartered in leadership positions, handling teams of 200 plus people. Sarfraz is currently the group director of Eureka Education Group, which he co-founded in London in 2014. Eureka has offices in Oxford, UK, Lyon, France, and Dubai, UAE, a social entrepreneurship center in India, and a research institute in France. Eureka is a tertiary education provider that specializes in designing and delivering international experiential learning programs across 8 cities around the world. The primary reason for him to make time for this mentor role from his busy schedule is his passion for youth development and keen interest in working with students. He has been an active volunteer in an international mentoring initiative.
Annie ma'am, you're muted. Annie ma'am, can you hear me?
Over to you, Sarfraz sir. It is all yours now, and we are here waiting to listen to you.
Sure. Thank
Yes.
you so much for thank you so much for all the kind words. And yeah, Annie. Can you hear me? The rest of you?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Sarfraz sir, we
The
can
audience.
hear.
Okay, all right. So I just had a question. Can we make this interactive? Because obviously, it is something where I'd like to, engage the students and talk to
Sure,
them
sir.
about what they. So,
Sure,
so
sir.
that's all right, is it? Yeah. Okay. Great.
So,
Because yeah, Annie.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Students who would like
Yeah,
to go ahead and
sure.
answer could please raise their hand so that I can unmute you so that you can talk to sir.
Sure. And if
Sorry.
you're not raising hands, I'll call out names. So that's how I run the sessions. So if you have to, comb your hair, do that, wake up, dress, whatever, get ready to face the camera. All right. So thank you so much. It is a real pleasure, here talking to
Right, sir.
you about this.
Sure.
So the introduction, obviously it's things that I've done in the past, but it's very important, and I'd start there of why I'm talking about this. So it's very important for you to understand that I'm not here to give you some just insights into being an entrepreneur by not being an entrepreneur myself. So I have like Professor Ashok mentioned, it's a difficult journey. You go through that process, but it is very gratifying. But so usually when I talk about entrepreneurship, I'd like to talk about start with what do you understand what entrepreneurship is? So I'm telling you first, and so those are the questions coming your way, right? So what is entrepreneurship? So please be prepared, students. If you're not raising hands, I'm going to ask you by name because I can see your names there. All right. So no getting away from this. So what do you think is entrepreneurship? Because I'd like to understand your view, your current view of what is entrepreneurship. That is one. And then I'd like to go into the aspect of why entrepreneurship? Why are we having this session? Why does your institute provide you so much inputs like the sessions that you had day before? And I'm sure there would be other sessions and activities and events happening around entrepreneurship. What is the importance and significance of it? Because until you're clear of the importance, the significance in your lives for entrepreneurship, it would be very difficult to appreciate. It's not another subject. It's not marketing, finance, operations, logistics. It is, a course in biotechnology. It encompasses every. You might be a student of any subject, any specialization, but it can still be very useful for you. So that is the next thing that I'd like to talk about, is the importance and significance of entrepreneurship for you, not generally, but for you. How is it important? So I'd like to understand your view on this, on so where do you stand? And I have seen entrepreneurship, and that's why I like talking about it. I've seen it in different countries. I've lived in London. Right now I'm speaking to you from Dubai. I've worked in India. So I've seen entrepreneurship from different perspectives, and that is what I'd like to put across in this session today. So let's get started. The first question: what do you think is entrepreneurship? So you could raise your hands, or I can ask you. Anyone? And Annie, if you can please help me in in managing
Sure,
this
sir.
interaction,
Sure,
because
sure. I'll do that. Right.
Sure.
Great. Yes.
Okay. So what do you think is entrepreneurship? Anyone? Yes, Zia.
You can speak out, Zia.
Yeah, hi. I got this opportunity to join this webinar from my sister-in-law, Huru Nisa. I think she's Annie. So I'm from the background, I'm IT professional, but so what I suggest, and it's entrepreneurship is something which is inside into, and you should have the enterprise to take out and explore the world.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Zia. That's a good point, and I'm glad you chipped in. Thank you. Anyone else on would like to add to what Zia just said about what do you think is entrepreneurship? Yes, Abhishek.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. So, as per my perspective, who is an entrepreneur is that someone who finds out a solution for the current problems in the society, and he grabs that opportunity and towards financial benefit towards himself or towards the society. So, it's just a basic understanding what I have. So, thank you so much for the opportunity to share.
That's very good, Abhishek. That's a very good response because that's practically what it is.
Thank you, sir.
So thank you for the answer. Who's next? Varshita, I'll come to you. Ajay, would you like to go next?
Ajay, are you able to speak? Because you have been raising your hand ever since. I wonder if you're having trouble with your mic.
Mhm.
Can we get back
we can
to
come back
Ajay,
to you.
sir?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Varshita.
Yes,
Yeah,
we can
Ajay is
hear
here.
you, Ajay, now. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Sir, entrepreneurship is a skill to manage a business. Yes, sir. That's
Okay. All right. Good, Ajay. Thank you. Varshita.
Very good afternoon, sir. Sir, according to me, entrepreneurship is something where an individual he has an idea and he executes its idea and executes its idea to the market with a service or any product.
Okay. All right. Good, Varshita. Thank you. Sadhna.
Sadhana, are you there? Okay. Yes, Sadhana, you can speak. You can unmute yourself and speak.
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Good afternoon, sir. So basically, I believe that entrepreneurship, when an individual has an idea and he has a plan to execute it with grabbing the opportunity in society.
Okay, excellent. So Sadhna, can you also tell me about any startup that comes to your mind? Any startup that comes to your any entrepreneur or a startup idea, uh, an example of it. Okay, Pankaj, we'll come back to you. Pankaj, if you're there. So now the question is for you is what is entrepreneurship according to you? And give me an example also. Okay, go on, Pankaj.
Pankaj, are you? Yes, Pankaj. If you can start speaking, then.
Okay, so yeah, you never know whose network is giving them trouble. So let me just pick on here, and we'll go back to Pankaj later. In the meanwhile, while I'm talking about entrepreneurship, you can put in the chat some of the startups or the ideas that you think entrepreneurs and startups. Put it in the chat box if you can, right? So I'll pick it up from there. So, so like Abhishek mentioned, in very simple words, all of you, had the same. So you have a problem. If you can come up with a solution to the problem. This is a general way of looking at it. People have been different. People have done this very differently. And I'm going to ask you who has done this differently. But then generally speaking, so you see a problem, you face a problem at home, on the street, at college, at work, and you think about it. Entrepreneurs generally think about a problem and they see it not as a problem but as an opportunity, and then they try finding a solution, and not only a solution but also uh, you know the ability to monetize that solution. If you're able to, create value not only for yourselves but for everyone else, from that solution. So like you're seeing the examples now being put, in the chat box, Zepto, Cred, uh, give me Polygon. So I'd like to, get more of those examples there. So all of these people, they saw Bill Gates, Microsoft, yes. So all of these people, they saw a problem, not as a problem, but an opportunity to find a solution and monetize and create value for everyone around. So if you look at, of course, if you look at Bill Gates, all of us know about, how he dropped out and what he did to start Microsoft. So, there was an opportunity at that time. Yesterday, when I was traveling yesterday, and I was on a plane, and I was watching this movie called Steve Jobs. So I've read the book about Steve Jobs, but I've not watched the movie. So I saw that movie about Steve Jobs, and again, it was about creating value. So in his case, it was different. He didn't find a solution, but he said that I will give a product that people don't know about, and he said that I will tell them that this is what they need to use. And obviously he was able to do it very successfully. Ola, Ritesh Agarwal, Uber, yeah, all of those examples that you're putting in the chat box, all of them, if you see, like when I'll talk about personal interaction with Travis, who was the founder and CEO of Uber. So when I was in London, I met Travis. They had just started. So they were not as big. They were on a huge recruitment drive and huge expansion. They had just raised $200 million, and they were looking to expand. So it was brilliant. The idea, the concept of Uber has drastically changed this entire industry space, and it has created value for everyone who's involved. It has created value for drivers. It has created value for customers like ourselves. It has obviously created a lot of value for the company itself and the founders. Obviously, Travis has moved out now, but then again, so the idea of Flipkart, Sugar Cosmetics, Cred, Kunal Shah, we all know Kunal Shah, Boat. So yeah, all these ideas, they found an opportunity, monetized it, and created value not only for themselves, but everyone else around. So in a nutshell, because this is not a theory class, so I'm not going to get into the theoretical definition of entrepreneurship, which I'm sure you'll be able to find in books and on the internet. So the idea is that you get hold of a problem. You see how can you provide a unique solution that no one else can provide. How can you do it differently? And then you sort of monetize it, create a model where you can make money from it, in a way that people are willing to, because obviously even if you have a very good idea and people are not ready to pay for it, it does not become a business. It does not become a startup. So the whole point there is that you need to have an idea, you need to have a solution, which is the idea, a solution to a problem which people are ready to pay for. Because if they're not ready, there are a lot of things that we don't want to pay for, but yeah, they're good solutions to have, right? But then so it is not so until people are willing to pay for it, it would not become a business. So that's also a very important aspect of an entrepreneurial idea or a startup business that you're looking at. So that's good. So those were good next bridge solutions, Dheeraj Bengu. Okay. So all of these are very good examples. So I see that most of you do understand what entrepreneurship is or have a view on it. And obviously with all the, we know who are these entrepreneurs. We see these success stories all around us these days. And especially with the pandemic, there have been more success stories on entrepreneurship, and we've seen people, succeeding in it. Now, my next point is how or why entrepreneurship? Is it for you? Is it for the, all the participants who are there on this session? Is it for you? Or how could it be beneficial for you? Why should you, why should you? So obviously, making $1 billion is, of course, I would want to do that, right? But There has got to be something more. The $1 billion come in only later. First, it's the hard work, the whole grind of going through that process. But then, and obviously it is a risky process. So the question is, why do you think entrepreneurship is useful for you? Not generally that it does good for the public, it does, it creates solutions. No, I'm asking, how do you think is it useful for you as an individual, or how can it be useful for you? And of course, because I know that all of you don't want to be an entrepreneur. All of you may not want to have a startup right now, later. Obviously there are a lot of combinations to that, but yet the question still remains relevant. Each one of you who's there on this session, why do you think entrepreneurship could be useful or important for you? Anyone? Yes, Sadhna.
Sir, I feel that entrepreneurship is important to enhance the leadership skills which is there in the student, in the individual, and it also brings out the true talent by giving opportunity, and also it encourages the individual to overcome the fear of starting a business.
Okay, so very good, Sadhna. Those are good points. So again, my question is for you, not for everyone else who's there on this call, right? So how do you think entrepreneurship can be useful for you? So Satvik, thank you, Sadhna. Satvik has mentioned in the chat to add a significant value in the world. So, but then this is for the world, right? The benefit is for the world. You are adding value to the world. How is it beneficial for you? Or how could it be beneficial or useful for you as an individual? So that is my question. Abhishek says, to put in simple terms, we want to be the boss of our own lives, not dependent on other companies. Also, it's a sense of fulfillment of achieving something big. That is very true. Thank you, Abhishek, for that. And thank you, Satvik, for those answers. So, and this is, I think, the most important part of this session, and that is the importance of entrepreneurship for you. I see you're from, Varshita is from BBA. Zia mentioned he's working in an IT firm. So all of you come from different backgrounds. So until you understand the importance, you'll not be able to really appreciate how it can be useful for you. So the point, the entrepreneurship as in, makes one economically self-reliant. Yes, that's a very good answer. So what it does is, even if I don't want to be an entrepreneur, starting tomorrow, I'm a BBA student right now, and I don't want to, my circumstances and situation does not permit me to, become an entrepreneur right away. So is it not for me? No. So that is the key here. It is beneficial for each one of us who's there on this session today. How is it beneficial? Because again, the topic of this session is skills, behaviors, and attitude. So the skills, the behavior, and the attitude required to be an entrepreneur. Obviously, some of them are, are God's gift. You already have those. Some of them you build as you go along. A lot of them you don't know that you have those skills, that attitude, or those behaviors, but you realize as you go along the journey. And that is why the importance of entrepreneurship really lies in the fact that I'm going to talk only about a few skills, about a few behaviors, and a few attitudes. But those skills, those behaviors, those attitudes are the ones that are required. I think they are, for success, they are absolutely required for success in any field. If you want to go into a job, it could be any job, it could be in any industry, in any field. The skills, the behavior, and the attitude required for an entrepreneur, if you have them, or if you develop them over a period of time, because obviously you not have all of them, it will help you even if you don't want to do a startup ever. If you don't want to become an entrepreneur ever, you think that, oh no, I want to be, I want to be a scientist, I want to focus on this aspect, or that's what I'd like to do. But if you have those attributes, those skills and behavior, the the chances of your success in whatever you're doing increase drastically. So that is the beauty of entrepreneurship, and that is why I think the institution having this innovation cell, doing these activities becomes extremely important, because obviously, and there are current circumstances, all of us know, with the pandemic, the economies have been hit, the job market is hit, getting jobs, good jobs, is getting more and more challenging. So in that scenario, so one option obviously is to you become an entrepreneur and you do your startup, and you sort of do things. So which is one way of overcoming the challenge thrown in by economies not doing well and jobs not being present. The other is that when you go out in the job market, you still don't want to be a startup. That is fine. You don't want to do a startup, but if you go out in the job market, you would still need those behaviors, those skills, that attitude that will set you apart to not only get the job but be able to perform in it as well. So that is why it makes it hugely uh, important for you to be able to imbibe at least some of these skills, some of these behaviors, and some of these attitudes, because it is going to contribute big time to your personal success, irrespective of whatever you're doing, right? So that is the importance for each one of us on this session, including myself. Right? And of course, not everyone comes with all the skills, all the behaviors, all the attitudes. So we build them over a period of time. And that is why this session we'll try to highlight some of the points. Obviously, there are many skills, there are many, behavioral aspects, there are many, types of that kind of attitude that you need as an entrepreneur. But we'll talk about a few of them. And the idea is, why we talk about that is so that you can try imbibing that in your in your daily lives and benefit from it, even if you don't want to do a startup. If you want to do a startup, then of course it's anyways going to help you. So so with that context of why why entrepreneurship is important, how could it actually help you as an individual, not the world, not my neighbor, but you? So the benefit starts with you, and then once you are doing well, you would be able to benefit others. If you are not doing well, of course it would be very challenging for you to be able to benefit others. So that is the point of entrepreneurship. So moving on to the next part, I'd like to ask, and this I want more people to contribute to this. What are the skills that you feel are important for an entrepreneur? I want you to answer that, and then I'll go into that in detail. So, what are the skills that you think an entrepreneur needs? What skills does an entrepreneur should have? You can ask that question in many different ways. So yeah, anyone? Zia.
So I would say education is one and foremost things which make you think in a way which may be a good initiative taken by you to prosper your society. And later comes the funds. Yeah.
Okay. Education. All right.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I'm seeing. Thanks, Zia. So I'm seeing answers on the chat box, and I'll take all of them, and I'll talk to Abhishek and Sadhna as well. But just talking in the education bit. So yes, I think that is important, because obviously a lot of examples are there where people have dropped out of university and colleges and still become successful entrepreneurs. That's all true, but then there are outliers. There are exceptional cases, but in most cases you need to, like your colleges, the session being organized by a college, they're making those efforts, providing you those inputs. I went to London Business School, and that's where I thought that I'd like to be an entrepreneur now and not go back to a job. So London Business School is amongst one of the top 3 business schools in the world. So the value that it added, that education, was it opened my mind while I was there in London. It opened my mind to the possibilities from around the world. So that's what a good educational institution does. It opens your mind to to the possibilities and the things that you can do and you can achieve. So that's what London Business School did for me, and I went on and I got an entrepreneur visa in the UK, and that's how I had business there. We started off there. Good points here. Sadhna?
Yes, sir. Creativity skills, good communication skills with self-confidence, and the capability to accept failures are important for an entrepreneur.
Yeah, very good points. So let's take them one by one. Communication skills. Um, so a lot of us think that, oh, we are introvert, or I can't communicate in English, or uh, we feel challenged by the community. If we just look at the communication part, I am not good in a particular language. I'm an introvert, so I don't open up. So all of those things are true, are relevant, but especially for those who feel that, oh, I'm not good in English, and in English communications, most of the world is not. So I worked with people who are from different parts of the world, except of course, people from UK whose mother, or the US, where the first language is English. Everyone else around the world, they find it, or Australia, obviously, you know what I mean when I say, French, Germans, Italians, South Americans, whose English is not the first language. Everyone struggles. Japanese, Chinese, all of them struggle with English. So it's not about that I don't know the language. You can always work on your communication skills and improve them. So if you're not good in communication skills, it is not anyone else's fault, but I think you are not doing enough. So communication skill, of course, is extremely important. Why is it important as an entrepreneur? Because if you're not able to communicate your ideas, your views, your thoughts, people would not even know what you're talking about. And you're talking about a new idea, a new concept, new product. If you're not able to communicate well, people would not get it and it will not succeed. It's as simple as that. So you need to be extremely good in communication skills. And I would also draw a parallel to, so communication skills as an entrepreneur. Why is it important? It is important because if I'm not able to communicate my idea well, or what it is going to achieve, people would not understand, they would not buy, and I will fail. So that's as an entrepreneur. But at the same time, if you're not an entrepreneur but you want to go into a job, communication skills is still equally important. Like all of us understand that if you're not able to communicate well in your job, you would again not succeed. It would be very difficult to succeed. Even if you are, even if you are, you are a coder, right? You're a coder and you're coding. I know we work with data scientists, we run programs in data science. He was a lead data scientist at GE Research, and he would say that I would sit in my room and just code away to glory. And but then eventually you need to interact with people. As you go up your career, you need to interact. You can't just sit in a corner. So communication skills is important. You be an entrepreneur, not an entrepreneur. So that is the theme of my session today, that all these skills, behaviors, and attitudes that I'm going to talk about as an entrepreneur are equally important to make you successful in a job. So that is a good reason why you should start looking to build them, right? So I'll come back to these questions, but I try to, communication is one of the important points. So I'll just try to build up on one point at a time, and then we'll proceed to the next set of skills and behaviors and attitude. So again, communication skills, and I have got examples of people being able to do this. I'll give you a personal example. I at one point of time early in my career, I used to work in Bangalore. So I had this boy who I had moved to Bangalore. I was not married, and I had an apartment to myself. So there was this boy who came to live with me to help me around with the house chores and cooking and cleaning and all of that stuff. But he was very keen on on doing something more and not just be a house help. So he would, I don't know, some of you may have heard about it. There was a book called Rapidex English Speaking Course. So he would get that and he would practice. And in my office, I got him a job as a, first as an office assistant, and then he joined as a, something in entry level in sales, just to help out a small franchise owner. he would, he would be cooking in the evening. He would get a call, and I would be there listening to him, and he would speak with the, with the potential customer, whoever was calling him, in English. English was not his first language. He was, he was trying to build his skills, and I really appreciate, and his sincerity and his efforts in learning English. And he would still, the broken English, he'd say, "I'm cooking right now. Can I call you later?" he and now he is doing extremely well. He runs his own business in Bangalore, in the financial services. He's doing very well for himself. He's not from Bangalore, he's from Orissa. So now he speaks English fluently. You would not even know that he doesn't, he's not that educated. He speaks Kannada, which is not his language, and of course, the other languages. But the just his initiative, and that has taken him, and I've seen it personally, firsthand, that where it has taken it in his life, as from a house help to being a business owner, that he has about a team of about 15 people that works for him now, and I'm not exaggerating. So that's the kind of difference. So it's not only a skill. Communication skills, obviously, he built because he realized that they were important, and he did something about it. He could have easily given up and said that, "No, I'm not that educated. How would I learn English? My communication skills are poor. So just give it up and just continue being a house help." Then it also reflects on the behavior and the attitude of not giving up. So he persisted with it, and now he is very successful. So that's one of the things, communication skills. Now moving on to Sadhna, you said about, or let's pick up Abhishek. You've raised your hand. And then I'll go on to the chat box.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
actually, you were asking about one of the important skills to become an entrepreneur.
Right.
So coming to that point, as per my understanding, I feel that people management is the most important skill. As in, like, we need to understand the people better to serve them
Sure.
and cater to them. Because at the end of the day, any business, either a product or a service, it's to the people, and people are paying the price for it. So that is what I feel.
Right.
Sure.
Sure. Okay. So Abhishek, just hold on to that thought. I'm looking at the chat box. Ajay says behavioral skills. He talks about that. Time management, decision making, communication, managerial skills. Again, something that is close to what you're saying. People management. So people management, when you say Abhishek, or it could be anyone else who would like to answer that, do you think it's only a prerogative of the HR to talk about people management, or is it required by everyone? Or is it only required by people who are in leadership roles or by HR in a company? What do you think?
In a sense that people management, like we need to understand the needs of the people in the first place, like the needs of the society, or it's linked to what I said in the beginning, like when we are trying to solve the problems, we need to understand the problems of each and every individual. Like we hardly care for the next doors, right? We don't bother what's happening in the next door. But whereas an entrepreneur has to take care of the whole society, and has to find a solution which has to be unique, and it should cater to the needs of the person. So that's what I was.
Right. Oh, okay, sure. So just coming back to the people management aspect of it, of what Abhishek just said. So even if I'm starting up, right? So I'm not in a leadership role, I'm not in an HR role, but people management means that you are able to, appreciate what someone is saying, and, are able to manage people's. There are different stakeholders wherever you're working right now. You might be say a BSc first year student or a BBA first year student. So do you need people management skills? Yes, because there are other classmates in the class. There are seniors that you need to interact with, that you need to manage. There are teachers. Then there are potential employers. So your parents, your family, your friends, family friends. So there are all of these people you need to manage, right? So people management is a very important aspect of what again, and it is not only for entrepreneurship, but even if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, you would still need that skill. Some people have it naturally, they can manage people very well. So when I say manage people, I'm not talking in there can be a negative connotation of it as well, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about in a positive way of how you manage people, how you manage your relationships, your associations with people generally. Some of people, and I know some people are atrocious at that, so everyone, you get into a fight, you get everyone hates you, you hate everyone. But then as an entrepreneur, it's something that you cannot do, because obviously when you're getting work, so it is true that I'm my own boss. So I'll give you my own example, and I say that very often, especially to my sales team and to my business and development team, that see guys, the whole point of being an entrepreneur, of doing your own stuff, is that I work with people that I like. So if I don't like you, I don't work. I'm not employee, so I'm not obliged to work. So if I don't like the way you talk, I don't like the way you think, I don't like the values that you hold, I would not work. So as a business owner, I have that liberty, and I have that, that's the whole point, that I can decide whom I can work with. But at the same time, you can't do that. You can't do that in the sense that obviously it's a commercial organization, so you have to manage everyone that you're working with. You have to be, you have to manage the people all around you in a way that they continue, creating value together with you. So that's again a very important aspect. So now going back to the list that people have put in, creativity. So creativity, yes, I would not say that creativity is one of the skills that you need. You need to be creative, yes. Creativity, not being able to, having a creative mind or coming from an arts background and being able to think, abstract. Creativity, I think, is very important, and that is Kalyani's point there on the chat. Creativity is important from the point of view of finding solutions, because finding solutions is one of the key, I don't know what, it would be a skill, it would be a behavior, it will be an attitude. But as an entrepreneur, we're just about to raise $1.5 million for a new project. As an entrepreneur, finding solutions and being creative in that is what sets us apart, as a business, as a startup. So I think that creativity in finding solutions is one of the most key elements of being an entrepreneur. So I feel that the team that we have right now, and of course it is very entrepreneurial in its thinking as well, our core team, they have that ability to actually think out of the box and come up with creative solutions. And those creative solutions are the solutions that create value for us, create money for us, and make us stand out in the market. So creative and finding creative solutions is, so why I'm saying it is a skill, because it can be, you can actually practice it. A lot of us don't think, we are attending the session, we're just listening. Obviously it is difficult to interact. If I was doing this standing in the room, it could be much more interesting. But it's not just about, listening to what I'm saying, but being able to understand that finding a solution, because we do not apply ourselves, we keep our, we don't try to, and it's a research as well, that we try to minimize the effort that our mind, that we apply our minds in different things. So we try to limit or minimize the, how much mind we apply to different things. But if you are able to do that, if you are able to practice and get yourself to think about things and apply, think about solutions, apply your mind, and so you can actually be creative about finding solutions, and that will make you stand out as as an individual. If you are able to find creative solutions, you would succeed wherever you are. You could be doing anything in the world, be an entrepreneur or in a job. If you are able to find creative solutions in a job, the challenge is that a lot of times your boss or your company may not, and that's a major challenge that employees face, is that your boss or your organization does not acknowledge, your creativity and finding solutions, because they think in a particular way, and that's a big challenge. So that's where being an entrepreneur helps, because then you can actually execute your ideas and solutions. I'll again give you an example from a personal perspective. So pre-pandemic, Eureka was not doing anything online. Everything that we did was offline. We were operating in 8 cities around the world, doing very well. Students would come to us, we'd run programs for them. And in March, March 2020, we had students in France who were taking up programs in Dubai, Malaysia, Singapore, and Bali. I think 5 cities were students were there and taking programs. We had programs, and our sales pipeline, which is the customers that we had, was full until October 2020. So there was no pandemic at that time, right? It all started in March when the lockdowns happened. So as soon as the lockdowns happened, we had to rush back the students that were there in different countries, because they were from a different country. They had to go back to their own country. And in spite of those, week 10 days, we were not doing anything online. In the spate of those 7-10 days, our entire pipeline, for sales pipeline, confirmed contracts that we had, everything went off, because pandemic, lockdown, no one knew what would happen next. And it was all about traveling from one country to another and doing a program. That's what we were doing at that point of time. We still do that, but then now it is much, we have students studying with us or doing our programs from the US, from Australia, China, Europe, Africa, Middle East, India. So it has become better. It has actually become much better, because with online, we could do much more. And how could we do it? March, this happened. In April, we launched our first online program. It was because of the team. They came up with a creative solution to the challenge that was thrown at us. The business had come to a complete stop at that point of time. And right now we're looking to do, I think probably 5x or something, from that time. So the pandemic was a challenge, a huge challenge, as for everyone, all of us. But then it turned into a bigger opportunity, actually, because people in our team could think and come up with creative solutions to that challenge. All right. So creativity, good communication, we've covered. Innovative, again, I would talk about that as a skill in line with finding solutions, finding innovative solutions. Being innovative in yourself you don't need to be, that I can invent things. You don't need to be a Nikola Tesla. You can still be, you can still be the owner of a Tesla car, and go on and become a huge, one of the most successful entrepreneurs like Elon Musk, and not be the Nikola Tesla yourself, right? So innovative in finding solutions that people would pay for. I think that is very important. Leadership, Sanya says, leadership skills. Absolutely, as a leader, as leading this organization, it's always, and as your principal sir mentioned, it is always challenging. As a leader, and I would also recommend a program from Harvard. Abdullah, my colleague, is there. I'll ask him to remind me later. It's a free session from Harvard on leadership. A brilliant story, a real time, a true story of of leadership in difficult times. So leadership, of course, leadership, again, some people have it naturally, some people are able to develop it as the practice. But again, it is about all these skills that we are talking about. We have talked about communication, we have talked about finding creative solutions. So all of these skills come from practice. You need to practice them. You need to, a lot of times we say that we don't have the opportunity to practice. So I'm just starting off my first job. How could I be a leader in this? Yes, that is true. You're getting into an entry-level job. You get a job in entry level in a bank, for example. You're reporting to people. You are the first one. Everyone else is above you in that hierarchy. So you're not in a leadership role. So what do I do? But yes, you can still do. Even in that position, you can still be a leader, not in that organizational hierarchy, but You could take up a volunteering project within the organization. You can subscribe to a lot of, almost every good organization or company would have some kind of a volunteering program, some kind of a corporate social responsibility program, somewhere where you can volunteer and contribute. So you can take leadership roles there, even if you are the junior most employee. So just an example, but then there is always an opportunity if you look around to practice your leadership skills. I'll again give you an example from London Business School. So there was this girl from the US. She came to LBS to do her MBA on a full scholarship. She was sponsored. She was working with Deloitte, and Deloitte gave her a full scholarship to go and do the MBA at London Business School. She came there. She obviously had to go back to Deloitte because they were paying her fees. But then, while she was there, she actually started a small startup, just for that experience, just for getting that exposure, that experience. She knew she was coming from Deloitte. She has to go back to Deloitte, but she still started that startup while studying, just for that experience. And I think that's one of the stories that I tell everyone, because until you do it, until you have a small startup, right? Each one of you, who's there on this session today, you may not want to become an entrepreneur tomorrow. You may not want to get into entrepreneurship. Yet, I would suggest that whatever you're doing, try, starting up with a small idea, small startup. Go through that process of being, an entrepreneur. The skills, the attitude, and the behaviors that you'll pick up while working on this very small project, like this girl, like I mentioned, her name was Sarah Bishop from the US. So what Sarah did was, she came from Deloitte. She had to go to Deloitte after her completing her MBA. But in that period, while she was at the college, she started this startup. It was about urban gardens and stuff. Something very small. I bought her product for my apartment in London. But again, it is the idea is that it gives you that. So you could start really small, but it helps you practice your skills. So if you really want to do it, if you really want to, get benefited, you can always think of an idea of what can you do, how can you do it. And even if you're not successful, obviously there are going to be a lot of challenges in doing anything, any entrepreneurial idea that you'd want to work, but it is worth the time, the effort. And of course, this is the right forum. At Bhavans, all the people that you just heard, right, starting from the leadership, from the principal sir to everyone involved in this activity, they are doing this because they want to support you. So do that, make the best of it. Go out, create a startup, howsoever small, take help from your faculty members, from your institution, and just give it a try. Because listening to sessions, I can only tell you, share my experience of what would help, what would not help. But until you do it yourself, it's not going to work for you. So you need to actually get your hands dirty. So that is the second most important takeaway from this session. Get your hands dirty. Go out and do it. Even if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, you want to go back and do a job. Even if you have a job and you still, obviously you're attending this session because there is some interest, right? So go out and get your hands dirty. Just don't wait that I don't have the money, I don't have the support, my parents would not support, my college would not support, I'm doing a BSc biology. What entrepreneurship am I talking about? It's all in the mind. That's all the limitations that you put on yourself. Each one of you, I'm very sure, each one of you can go out and get started, get your hands dirty, and each one of you can do it. It's just about thinking through it. If you need help, you go to your, the people who are there on this call, who are from the innovation cell, you come to us. We'd be more than happy. I'd be more than happy to help you, to guide you, to provide you inputs that might help you, right? But first, you have to, so that's where the behavior and the attitude aspect comes of it, of making sure that, not giving up, that, yeah, it's a big challenge. My parents don't support, my financial condition does not support. Yes, which is true, which is very, very relevant. but there's still a way around. You need to look for it. So that is the one of the key aspects of, the first point on my list of attitudes is never giving up. Persistence is extremely important. So never giving up is you keep going at it. If you're able to develop these skills and these behaviors and these attitudes, and it takes time and it takes hard work to develop them, if you're able to do them, the chances of your success in whatever you do, people would see through that. You come for an interview and you meet me, and if you have those skills, they would reflect. They would reflect from what you're talking about, right? So that is why I'm a very firm believer that all these skills. So first is you go get your hands dirty, do something of your own. Even if, while at college, go out and do something. The confidence it will give you, the ideas it will give you, you would stand out in any interview that you go out to, because obviously it's a constant interaction for a job, for starting up, for anything. So it will put you in a very good space, if you're able to do that. Okay, now very quickly, let me touch on some of the other skills. You mentioned, other skills, leadership skills, behavior, analytical skills, creativity, time management, problem solving, decision making, conceptual skills, ability to come up with great ideas, managerial skills, conceptual skills, presence of mind for critical situation handling. Who's that? Ganji Anna, that's a very good point. Presence of mind, obviously, because when you are out there as an entrepreneur, and that's why I'd like you to try, you'd always be tested for decision making and presence of mind. So as an entrepreneur, one of the biggest challenges I have, and that's a story, like all of us probably would have heard as well, of why do you think people like founders, Steve Jobs or Zuckerberg, or these people, why would they dress in the same, same t-shirt, same jeans? Why? Any thoughts on that? Anyone on that? Why? So there's a very famous thing that all these big, poster boys of entrepreneurship and startup world, obviously they're no longer a startup, but then all these poster boys, why do you think they dress so conservatively? Like Steve Jobs would typically be in that black shirt and blue jeans. Yeah, Harsh says to save energy for choosing what to wear. That's exactly right. So that's a very famous thing, that they would not want to decide stand up in front of their wardrobe and decide what do I wear today, because there's so many other decisions to be made. So to save time, yes. But then, and I've experienced this myself as an entrepreneur, that every moment there is a decision to be made. People expect me as a leader of this organization or this group. People expect me to decide for them. Obviously, you try to decentralize, you try to make people, take their own decisions. But yet, as the organization grows, we're doing many different things in many different parts of the world. So the decision, again, people expect you to decide. They'll ask you, things that you need to, decide there and then. And that decision, of course, obviously there are bigger decisions where, the information is lacking, that's where the analytical skills comes in, critical thinking come in. Some of the points that are put there on the chat, very relevant points. Presence of mind, critical situation handling. So all of those stuff comes in, as so. How do you incorporate that? Because if you are a student, for example, you're going to college, you're not making a lot of decisions. You're not, so how do you do that? Is you go out, and that's why you get your hands dirty, do a startup, even if it is very small. Try getting into that mindset and the work set of an entrepreneur. That will help you develop skills, behavior, and attitude that would be useful for you, even if you don't succeed in that startup, even if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, just want to do a job afterwards. And it is, I'm sure a lot of you would be looking to apply to international universities, every Ivy League university, including London Business School, all of these places, if you've done a startup, they give you a lot of value add. It helps your application. if you have a startup on your CV that you did, even if it failed. Success is not important. It is about going through that process, going through that journey. So if you have done that, you drastically increase the chances of your success in an international admissions. So that is the why is it that? Why is it so? Because they understand the importance. They understand that the skills, the behavior, and the attitude that you would have developed would be different and very different from others who have not done that. That is why they give it so much weightage, right? It's not like they're giving it weightage just for nothing. So right, so that is the point there in terms of getting out. So on the skills, like analytical decision making, so all of that, because in our normal day-to-day lives, we are not able to practice that too much. So for being able to practice all the skills that are required, you need to do that startup. Now, and one more skill is multitasking, presentation. So all of them are pretty self-explanatory of why would you need that as an entrepreneur. Not only entrepreneur, like I'm repeatedly saying that it is true for in any situation. For anyone who's there on this session, it would be important. And then from a behavior point of view, being positive, risk-taking, holistic approach, you look at all aspects. So as an entrepreneur, so when I'm taking decisions, I'm supposed to look at or consider all aspects. It is not only that I see that, oh, it's a big opportunity commercially and I jump for it, but then I need to see what impact can it have on my reputational, because I'm in the business of education. Eureka, it's an education group. So I'm in the business of education. So any decision that I take is not only commercial in nature, but I have to look at the reputational risks, the operational risk. Would I be able to deliver what I'm talking about, the program that I'm talking about, the learning objectives? So the approach has to be very holistic. It cannot be one-sided or you look only at one dimension. A very multi-dimensional approach that you need. So that's again a behavior that you need to inculcate as you go along. Being positive, Professor Ashok said, there is a challenge, especially when you're starting off. There is a challenge at every step. So how would you overcome those challenges? Are of course the ability to remain motivated and stay positive is extremely important as a behavior. And positivity, people see that. If you are positive, people will see that across when they're talking to you. They'll see through you, that you are a positive person. If you're a negative person, your words, your actions, your posture, everything is going to convey, that. And people don't like negative people. I have actually worked with people, and one of the main reasons I had to let them go was because they were so negative. They were spreading so much negativity amongst the team, that they were destroying, even though they were good workers, they were good in their work, but because they were so negative in their approach to things, that they were destroying the whole ethos of the culture, the culture of the organization. So we had to let them go. So it's that important. Then in terms of attitudes, the things like never giving up, persistence, I talked about. So obviously, it's not easy to do. If it was easy, everyone would be an entrepreneur today. But I still motivate you to become one, even for a short while, even while you're just studying, just to practice and imbibe and inculcate all these skills and behaviors and attitudes. But again, persistence is, you'll have to persist on, only then success comes to you. Finding solutions, we have talked a lot about finding solutions. Hard work, again, this has been a thing. We feel that the other day I was talking to someone in Dubai who was referred to me by someone for a job, and one of the things that caught my attention, what he spoke was that I'm a smart worker. I'm not a hard worker. I'm a smart worker. That's what he mentioned to me. Because he obviously came to me, he was referred by someone I know closely. So I was having that discussion, and that caught on to me, that what does smart work mean? Because yes, you have to be smart, in working. You have to be smart in thinking, you have to be smart in talking, but then there is no replacement for hard work. And that is something that a lot of us feel that with the technology, with, by saying a few nice things, we can get away without hard work. So it doesn't work like that. All of us, the people, your teachers that you have there right now on this session, all of them have gone through they put in a lot of hard work to be where they are right now. So there is no replacement for that. There is no easy way out. Yes, you have to be smart, you have to do things smartly, but then you still have to do a lot of hard work. You have to go through that grind, as they say. So with that, I'd like to, sort of, take a break and bring this session to an end, because obviously entrepreneurship is not about talking. I can talk a lot about it, but then it helps you only when you're doing it, right? So let me ask a question now, and we'll try to wrap up the session. Are there any entrepreneurs right now on this session who are attending this? Someone who has already started something, or it could be at any scale or at any level. Any entrepreneurs on this session?
They could raise their hands, sir, if there are entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good thing that no one has raised hands, because if you're an entrepreneur, then you'd be busy doing other things, right? You'd not be attending this session. So it's a good thing that no one has raised hands. So okay, and I really hope that this session, because there are not, as an entrepreneur, I can only take you through of what is, what are some of the important aspects. But until and unless you do that hands-on, you get your hands dirty, as I'm saying, it's not going to work. It's not going to be helpful for you. So, and it does not mean that I'm not saying that you need to invest so much money in it and only then it becomes a startup. An idea can start without any money. You might have heard of the term bootstrapping. So if you want to do it, there is always a way of doing it. You don't need to, you can start small. So anyone who can think of and start off, from this session, I'm sure that if we were to map this over the next 5 years or the next 3 years and see what the people who are able to start up, just to get their hands dirty, not to become the, the next, Mark Zuckerberg, but just to, in 3 years' time, I'm sure they would be better off. Even if they're working somewhere, they'd be doing much better than others. So on that note, I'd like to thank you for being so patient on this session. I know Zoom sessions, there are challenges of making it interesting and involving everyone, but then I've tried to, to provide you inputs that I really feel are important as an entrepreneur and which I've seen in my journey as an entrepreneur. So thank you once again to Bhavans for organizing this session and having me over. It was a pleasure speaking to all of you. Annie, back to you.
Thank you so much, sir. It was indeed a very enriching session. We had so many takeaways from the session, and I'm sure all our young entrepreneurs here have things to take away from the session, from what you've spoken. And especially if I have to just put it in a nutshell and concise all that you've said, you spoke about the skills, the communication skills, I think, which tops the list for any kind of skill set that you need, especially to be an entrepreneur and for anything. I think that tops the list, like you said. And also one thing that really, two things that really hit us hard, I think, are to spread positivity and also persistence, both the P's that you were also emphasizing on. Persistence, I think, because many young entrepreneurs start off, but then due to some reason or the other, I think they just leave it in between. They're not persistent enough. I mean, they're so discouraged by many other factors which cannot let them continue. And therefore they tend to just give up. And like you said, don't give up. And I like the one thing that you said, start a startup, because that automatically will give you all the skill sets, the skills, the behavior, the attitudes, which will come along with it instinctively. And therefore you will know, even if you're not going to continue it, but at least you will learn. And even if you're working somewhere else, then you have the skill sets. That's interesting, sir. Thank you so much.
And I'd
Yes.
just like to add that anyone who, who sort of wants to get their hands dirty, do a startup with you, obviously with the innovation cell. We'd be there. Eureka, as Eureka, we'll be happy to, assist you or support you in that. So Annie, that's, an open invitation to anyone who would like to start even a small startup and go for it, like we discussed today. So you will find
Oh,
us
wow.
behind you along with the institution. Yeah.
We couldn't have asked for more, sir. That's very kind of you. And yes, we will certainly get back to you. Thank you so much for that. It's really kind of you. And that itself, I think, would start motivating our youngsters here to start something. If we could quickly get into the question and answer session, sir, if you are okay with it.
Yes,
A quick question and
Yeah,
answer
sure.
session. If anybody here, the participants here who have questions to ask, Sarfraz, sir, please go ahead. Anybody. You could even chat, you could even type it in the chat box, or you could even speak out your questions. Anything is fine.
Yes, Abhishek.
Yes, sir. I have one question related to this topic. So as we have like people who are pioneers, as you mentioned, taking Nikola Tesla. So while taking up this journey of entrepreneurship, what do you think, sir? Like, what would you suggest? Do you want us to become the pioneers, or do you want to, start up with an existing business model, a successful model, or something related to that? I just wanted to know that.
Okay, sure. So that's a good question, Abhishek. And usually what happens is that it's a journey. Entrepreneurship is always a journey. So where you start and where you end, you never know. You might have heard about, pivoting businesses. Everyone does that. Everyone goes through that journey. I think the most important part is to get started. You can get started because obviously each one of us come from a different background. We have a different, conditions at home, conditions at work, socioeconomic conditions, cultural backgrounds. So whatever suits you, the idea is you get started. And then as you go along, you would get better ideas, you will get better opportunities, you get associated with people who would take you, to places, as they say. So the idea is it's not about being the inventor, or it's about get started wherever you can, whatever your present circumstances are, get started there, and then see how or where the journey takes you. Okay. Action is the key, right? Abhishek, you got that. All right. Any other questions?
Just to interrupt, so I'm sorry for all the participants. The feedback form has been pasted in the chat box. So please fill in the feedback form. Thank you, sir. Any more questions, participants? You're free to speak up or raise your hand or type your question in the chat box. That would be great.
How to be motivated? Manoj. Yeah. So that's a good question. How to be motivated? So typically the answer lies in the fact that why are you not motivated? Is it something that you don't like what you're doing? So I'll give you a personal example there, and hopefully that will help. So when I was working, so you just at the beginning of the session, Annie very kindly read my profile, which at times gets embarrassing. So I was heading this $6 billion company as a head of treasury, managing about $400 million transactions every month. Everything was extremely good. As you can imagine, a leadership role, I would have, business trips because all the banks were based in London and Europe. So regular business trips, holidays, Swiss holidays, and all the best things in life, right? But then I was not I was not happy because I wanted to do something of my own. So I was not motivated. Going to office in the morning eventually became such a drag that I had to pull myself literally. It was an excellent job. So when I told my company that I'm quitting, they were like, I don't understand. You take leave, you go to your course and come back. I don't understand, why do you want to quit? So motivation, how to be motivated? So you need to find what you are really interested in. You need to search for what really excites you, what fires your passion. So the job that I was doing, it was very well paying. It was very comfortable. I was in complete control, doing very well in that. But then I was not satisfied. So motivation, I found my motivation in becoming an entrepreneur. So you'll have to do things. Again, action is the key. Do things that will allow you to find out what are you really excited about, what are you really passionate about in doing, in which so now as an entrepreneur, I'm putting in much more time, but I don't mind that because I really like doing this. So you'll have to find that motivation by doing things and finding out what works for you. Hope that helps. Yes, Zia.
Yeah, but I would say this word is self-explanatory, and you have to be enterprising enough to get your hands dirty in it, or how to develop this enterprising nature in yourself.
Mhm. So, Zia, sorry, if you can just repeat the question that you want to ask, or was it a comment, not a question?
I'm asking how to develop enterprising nature in yourself to get your hands dirty.
Okay. Sure. So when I say get your hands dirty, I meant go on. Obviously, there are problems that you would be seeing around you. There would be challenges, or you might like that. Oh, I like what the business model that Zomato has, for example. So think of anything around you and go out and start doing it. Get your hands dirty means that don't bother about, oh, is it a good enough? Don't spend too much time thinking whether is it a good enough idea, bad idea, would it work, not work, will it make money, not make money. Do some reasonable due diligence and go out and do it. Go out and start. That is, take action. That is what I mean by getting hands dirty, right? So don't think too much that, oh, I'm not getting the right idea, it's not unique, it's not creative. Yeah, no idea is going to be 100% creative, 100% unique. So you need to just start somewhere. That is important. Start, act, pick up any idea, start working on it, and then you will find the way, as you go along. And I think that's what Vinay is also asking, which best approach do you suggest to let people know about the idea of startup? Is the idea for startup something that we should actively look for, or is it something that comes to us naturally? So Bhuvan, to that question, it might come naturally, or you might have to look around. There is no hard and fast truth. There is no definite answer. You have to come up with an idea, do some due diligence that yes, it is worth pursuing, and go for it. It can come to you naturally because you saw something and you found that, oh, this is missing, I can do this. Or you actively look for ideas, especially for people in India. I think this is a very good, something really useful for all of you could be that if you look at what is happening in Silicon Valley right now. Silicon Valley, or even London, is a very, very promising startup scene. So look at what is currently happening, what startups are currently taking shape in Berlin, in London, and in US, in Silicon Valley. That will give you a lot of ideas, because a lot of things that are happening there right now would come to India much later. So if you start following what is happening, of course, it is not one website that you go and you'd find out. You'll have to do some research, spend some time, get an idea of which areas the startups in Silicon Valley, in London, and in Berlin are working on. So that will actually give you a lot of ideas of what could be out of those ideas, what is not present in India right now and what will work in India. Of course, coming from India, all of you would be able to relate that this will work in India or this will not work. But then, so that could be a very good starting point for working on an idea. of seeing what is happening right now outside in these 3 markets for a start, and then bringing one of those ideas to India. Okay. So Vinay, your question, which best approach do you suggest to let people know about the idea of startup? I'm not sure about the question. Would you like to come on board and ask it in person? Or Zia, do you have a follow-up question? Your hands is raised.
No, thanks, Sarfraz.
Okay. All right.
I think
all right.
it would come when you are positive. You have to be positive all the time to initiate anything.
Sure. All right. Thank you, Zia. So with that, I think all the questions are done. Back to you, Annie.
Thank you so much, sir, for patiently answering all those questions. And I'm sure after listening to this session, we will have many more young entrepreneurs budding from our institution, and also of the participants who have actually participated in today's session.
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure, and there's so many takeaways, and it was really enriching and very nice listening to you. And if we have come to the end of the session, I would like to give this time to Ashwini, Mrs. Ashwini, the coordinator of BIIC, to propose the vote of thanks for the session.
Thank you, Annie ma'am. Very good afternoon, Sarfraz sir. As I was listening to the session, I was the first one to feel happy, you can say, as the coordinator of Bhavan's Institution Innovation Council, as you said that you would lend a hand to us and giving you an offer to bud our particular budding entrepreneur. So I would surely get in touch with you, sir, for our future,
Sure.
all the future aspects, whatever our students would like to do, any kind of new startups, because as I feel that in the education field, we as faculty can go ahead and tell them what entrepreneur is in the books, but someone like you actually can show them the way, because you are experienced and the practicality has to be known to them more than what the theoretical aspects are. So thank you so much, sir, for giving us this opportunity to go ahead and listen to you. That was such session was really very wonderful, and the students, because I have seen most of the sessions, but I never saw the session this interactive at this particular time, wherein I have seen the hands raising and also the chat box dropping with many messages stating that they wanted to answer. So that actually showed how the session was interactive and how students were, or the participants were engrossed into your session. And thank you so much for giving this time for our particular college, sir. And I would like to specially thank Mr. Abdul as well for actually suggesting you to go and take up this particular session, sir. A special thanks to him as well. Thank you, sir, sir. And I would specially thank our beloved principal as well, Professor Vayasho, who has, with his support, we are able to go ahead and organize this particular sessions. And I also would like to thank our Mrs. B. Neramati ma'am, Vice Principal ma'am, for encouraging us to take up this particular sessions to bring about the entrepreneurial culture in the college. And I would like to thank our coordinator, Thermal sir, as well, who has been supporting us in all the endeavors as well. And thank you so much, everyone, the participants who have actually registered and are listening patiently to the session. And thank you so much, everyone, sir. Thank you so much, Sarfraz, sir. It was really an enriching session to all the participants. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was a real pleasure. And although you have already, concluded
Yes.
the vote of thanks, there is a challenging question that has come up in the chat box. And that is, give a best idea. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I was
on.
going to stop you, sir, and just quickly answer that particular question, because it's very relevant.
Yes. So yeah, I just saw that. So Nagaraju, you're asking me, give a best idea to start up for a student. So are you a student at Bhavan's, Nagaraju? Because, okay, no, okay, all right. Because this is the question that I want each one of you to answer, right? I've given you a clue of how to answer that. That is, I want you to go to what is happening in the startups world right now in Silicon Valley, in London, and in Berlin, and see the ideas that are present there and not in India, and see what would be relevant to the Indian context, and you can work on that, right? So again, it is about working, So I can give you an idea, it may or may not be the best, but I can definitely give you an idea as a student. But then if you do it on your own, you would learn much more. And that is why I'm telling you the way of how do you get that idea also. And it is really simple. It is just about going and exploring what is happening in Silicon Valley, London, and Berlin. I'm sure you'd be able to find out. If you were a student of Bhavan's, I would have then asked Ashwani and Annie to actually come back to me with what idea you came up with. You can still do that. Go find it out, find the idea, share it with Annie ma'am and Ashwani ma'am, and so that they can share it with me and we can discuss it forward. But I'd like you to do this yourself rather than me telling you what could be the best idea. All right.
Sure, sir. We'll
So
just find
again,
out
with
if
that,
he's from Bhavan's. We'll just find out if he's from
Yeah.
Bhavan's and surely get back to you on that one.
Yeah, I know, yeah, sure. So again, he's asking if there is a helpful site. You need to find it yourself, Nagaraju. That is the whole point. You need to explore it yourself. Yes, Abhishek, I'll accept the LinkedIn request. Thank you so much. And Nagaraju, do get in touch. Find it out and we'll be there to help you and support you. All right, then. Thank you, everyone, for a lovely session. Looking forward to meet you in person sometime soon. And yeah, bye-bye and take care.
So
All the
thank
very
you
best.
so much. Could you just hold on for a minute so that we can
Sure,
have a
sure.
photograph with you
Okay, sure.
on
Sure.
the
Annie ma'am, you can on your video.
my video is on, Ashwini ma'am, but the thing is, I think my network connection is unstable. That's what it says. But I can see myself on the screen though.
Oh, that's great.
Aren't you
Then-
able to see me, Ashwini ma'am?
No, I'm not able to see you. So you can just take a pic from there.
Acha, okay.
You can just take a
It's
pic.
fine because I think it's saying my network is unstable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can take a picture, right? So thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much once again and all the very best. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so
for us,
much, sir. All the best to you too.
Surely
Yes,
get
sir.
in touch in the
Thank
future,
you.
sir. We'll invite you one day to
Sure.
the college.
Yes, anytime. That would be nice.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Fine.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Definitely. Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
Thank you to all the participants. The feedback link is shared in the chat box. So I request everyone to go ahead and please fill in the feedback form to get the certificate. And please fill in the correct details as you want your name to be on the certificate. The link will be opened for another 5 minutes. So I request everyone to please go ahead and fill in the feedback form.